What is up, everybody, and how's it going? I'm Alex Goldstick, and you are listening to the Spring Forward Podcast. The Spring League 2019 in Austin, Texas is just days away from beginning. All players will begin reporting to camp by the end of the week. They'll have just over a week of practice before playing in their first of 2 games. Game days for the Spring League will be on Saturday, April 6th, and Thursday, April 11th. Both game days are doubleheaders where all 4 teams will see action on the same day. Tickets are available now at thespringleague.com. The Spring League features 4 teams which are divided geographically by where players went to school and are named East, West, North, and South. However, this Spring League, Team South has been rebranded with a local flair. The Austin Generals will sport a new logo and new colors and will include the likes of former Jets draft pick Lorenzo Malden, former Texas Longhorns and other Texas school players, as well as our crop of international players from the likes of Japan and Australia. Today's episode features an interview with Blake Jackson, one of the Spring League's most recent NFL success stories. Jackson transformed himself from a D1 preferred walk-on at Southeastern Missouri State to a D3 national championship winning quarterback at the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor to an NFL slot receiver with the Cleveland Browns. Jackson made his NFL active roster debut in Week 17 of the 2018 season against the Baltimore Ravens. Without further ado, let's hear Blake's story. Blake Jackson is a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns who was at the Spring League Showcase in San Diego in 2018. He's a former championship-winning D3 All-American quarterback out of the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor and has been transitioning to receiver for the past 2 years, one of which was spent in the NFL ranks. Blake, welcome to the pod.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Now, the pod usually follows a chronological line of questioning about your football career, but your birthday was actually earlier this month, and your son was born on your birthday. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, man. I had the blessing of being able to have probably one of the best birthday gifts you can ever ask for, and bringing in my son, legend King Jackson, to this world. So, yeah, that was definitely one of the best moments of my life.
Well, huge congrats on that. I don't think I've ever heard of someone who shares a birthday with their parent before, so that's really amazing. And, get used to splitting your birthday with somebody else.
We're going to mainly be his cake, and I'll just get like a little slice of it, but I have no problem sharing it with him.
Beautiful. All right, let's get to the football then. So you grew up in Houston. We all obviously know the level of enthusiasm behind Texas high school football. Tell me about your earliest memories of putting on pads and falling in love with this game.
So actually, my dad was a football coach. He coached at Westside High School for many years, and eventually ended up starting his own football, training and college prep, pro prep company called Sports Prep USA. And I mean, he's been doing that ever since I remember. But I remember coming out of there as a kid. I was like 5 years old, training with guys that were in college, training guys that were in high school. And my first year of pads, I just remember just genuinely falling in love with the game. And I remember after scoring my first touchdown, just how good that felt. Just, I guess, like the recognition and all, like after the game and all that kind of stuff, how people would be like, man, you're really fast, or man, you're really quick, or, just all that kind of stuff that came with it. And just, I really enjoyed the process of just growing as a player ever since I was a kid. And man, that's one thing that's always stuck through me through the years of playing this game.
Now, your name was really cemented in the college football records during your time at UMHB, but you actually began your college career at Southeast Missouri State, where you played 6 games as a freshman and then had a redshirt sophomore season before transferring. What was your time at Southeast Missouri like, and how did you make your initial decision to go play college ball there?
Southeast Missouri State was, it was a great opportunity. Learned a lot from the coaches that, I came in with there. It was Coach Sam at the time, Tony Samuel. And, I learned a lot from him. Coach Hennis, he was a coach there as well, a quarterback coach. But there was a lot of things I learned from there, a lot of great relationships that I still actually have from there. I grew as a football player when I was there as well. And eventually, whenever I decided to the way I actually ended up going to Southeastern Missouri State was my junior year of high school. I had verbally committed to Mizzou as an athlete, and going into my senior year, I still had some other schools on my radar that I wanted to, try and gain their interest and gain a scholarship to. So I didn't sign my letter of intent to Mizzou, but going into my senior year, second game of the season, I ended up tearing some ligaments in my ankle. Ended up being out for the rest of my senior year. In that process of that happening, I ended up, still weighing my options for scholarships and schools and stuff. So I ended up, falling down off of Mizzou's scholarship board, and they actually ended up changing my scholarship to preferred walk on. And eventually, long story short, there was some coaches that were at Mizzou that actually gave my name to some coaches at Southeast Missouri State, and pretty much we got connected. I flew out on a visit. Ended up falling in love with what those guys had going on out there, and committed to them when it came to signing day.
Now, University of Mary Hardin Baylor is in Belton, Texas, which is between Austin and Waco. We've had a lot of UMHB guys in the Spring League, but I still had to look that up. It's got a little less than 4,000 students, but has been a D3 football national powerhouse as of late. So what went into your decision to return back to Texas?
So family was one, probably the major thing. My family didn't get to come out at all to Missouri to be able to see me play. So that was one thing that came into the decision-making process. And then, I wanted to go somewhere that was more prolific in, education, school-wise, and then as well as football-wise, and somewhere that I knew had a strong following. And UMHB, just it being in Texas and being close to, Temple, Austin, and Clean and all that kind of stuff, it's so much football around that area that they have no low expectations for UMHB. Everybody has high expectations for them to be a winning team every single year. So I wanted to be a part of that tradition and be a part of what they had to offer.
So at UMHB, you split your time at quarterback as a sophomore and a junior. Redshirt sophomore and junior. But you really broke out in your redshirt senior year, throwing for 3,200 yards, over 3,200 yards, 35 touchdowns, and then you rushed for another 904 yards and 11 touchdowns. You were named D3 All-American, you were an academic all-conference selection, and were voted the American Southwest Conference Offensive Player of the Year. So was all of this just a matter of getting the reins to the starting QB job, or something else in you that clicked your senior year?
So, I've never been one to be, a selfish type of person. I always do what's good for the team. So, when I came into UMHB transferring from a D1 school, everybody was hyping me up. Everybody was, saying all this stuff like, oh man, he's definitely the guy, all that kind of stuff. But, there was a guy there, Zach Anderson, who was one of my good friends, who had been at UMHB, and he had, solidified his spot as a quarterback. And when he was there, he didn't lose many games, and they were winning with him. And so it was kind of a situation whenever I came in, they let me know, we're going to split time between you guys. And if you're not cool with that, then we recommend you go somewhere else. But I've never been a selfish player. So, I went ahead and went with that, and, it turned out great. And then, there was times whenever people would come to me and be like, man, you should be the starter. You should get more playing time. But, that's just outsiders looking in, and that's just part of it. And you just got to maintain and stay true to who you are and to your values, and make sure you keep everything where it needs to be as far as priorities and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we did. And then it got to my senior year, and I got to show out. I was, the only guy that was at quarterback, and I got to show out and just take the team as my team, and ended up winning a national championship.
So like you just said, that redshirt senior year, your final year of college football, capped off with a national championship in which you were named Most Outstanding Player of the Stag Bowl, which is what the D3 National Championship is called. In that game, you were 16 for 27 passing, 171 yards with a pick, but you really earned those Most Outstanding Player honors with 119 rushing yards and the game's only TD in a 10-7 win over Wisconsin Oshkosh. So take us through that game, and where does that championship sit in your life memories?
Man, yeah, that game was crazy. I know going into it, we actually knew it was going to be a defensive battle. Just with the factors of the weather that we had in that game, throwing the ball wasn't going to be one of our main things in our game plan. So when we went into the game, we knew we were going to have to run it. I think I ended up running the ball like 29 times that game, and we actually input a play about 2 days before the game that was all centered around me running the ball. And we got to the game. We were able to move the ball a couple times with that scheme, and it was just crazy, just the atmosphere, just everything around the game, how it played out, and it was definitely probably one of the most nerve-wracking moments in my life, and definitely one of the most memorable football-wise.
We obviously know that you now bill yourself as a receiver. So what went into the decision of going from national championship winning QB to deciding to go after your pro dreams as a receiver? And when did you make that call?
So I talked to my agent, Jerry Marlette, after when we sat down after the championship and we got into the pro day training and all that kind of stuff. And, we made that decision pretty early on that we were going to, try to do both, but work on more receiver than quarterback. And so that's what, ended up happening. Through my whole football career, I've always been an athlete. I've always been able to play multiple positions. And having a coach as a father who knows so much about the game, he played running back in college, was an All-American running back in high school, all that kind of stuff. And so I had that natural just athleticism in my DNA. So, he also surrounded me a whole bunch of guys that knew the game as a receiver. Russell Shepard, he was out of Thigh Ridge, and he played quarterback as well in high school. And then he also went on to LSU to play quarterback. And then he ended up changing eventually at LSU to receiver. And, I learned a lot from him on how to transition, and then just watching guys like Edelman and all that kind of stuff. I took a lot of their game and put it into mine as well. And so, I worked every day, just perfecting my craft, working on my craft, studying film, nitpicking, guys that are in the league that play receiver, just asking them, what to do, what not to do, just getting all these little bitty details to put into my game to, help me reach my goals. And, that eventually happened. And, I'm still doing it. You can ask Jarvis right now. I'm in his ear asking him, for advice, asking him what to do in this situation, what to do in that situation. It's paying off.
We hear a lot about some smaller school athletes doing their pro days at bigger schools, and you were obviously no exception. You had your pro day nearby at Baylor. What do you remember about your pro day? Take us back to what your expectations were during that time before the draft.
So I remember my pro day going into it, talking to Jarrell Freeman, who also played at UMHB, and he eventually had a good career in the NFL as a linebacker with the Colts and the Bears. He let me know whenever he came out, he had his pro day at Baylor as well, and that how he was going to be and all that kind of stuff. And so I eventually, going into my pro day, I had like an idea of what was going to happen, but went in there and it was different. It was definitely different. They split us up into two groups. So if you didn't go to Baylor, you didn't perform with the Baylor group. So you had to wait for the Baylor players to get done, and then you would come in after the Baylor players, and then you would do your pro day. So that was the only thing I'd say on that day that kind of threw me off a little bit with that. But, that's just adversity to being thrown your way, and you just got to overcome it no matter what. So, I went out there, ran my 40, ran a good time. From what I heard, I ran one of the fastest 40s, and then had some really good testing and just, showed out and did what I had been working on. So I left my pro day feeling pretty good, and we had some interest from some scouts and all that kind of stuff and some teams, and it was just all a matter of getting the opportunity to get some private workouts and all that kind of stuff further down the road. So
unfortunately you went undrafted, and spoiler alert, this is only 2 years ago, so this is we're talking about some very recent times. But you were signed by the Calgary Stampeders up in Canada as a receiver. Unfortunately, you were part of the team's last round of cuts in training camp there, but it must have felt good to be recognized not only as a professional football player, but as a professional receiver less than a year after making the position switch. So Do you think that your experience in the CFL was a positive one? And take us through Calgary.
Yeah, it definitely was a positive one. You know, that being my first experience as a pro player, pro football player, and not only just a pro player, but like a receiver, just getting that recognition as like, hey, yeah, you can play this position, is just like confidence builder, per se. So, you know, when I got up there, I learned a lot, from those guys up there as well, and, those coaches as well. You know, it's a completely different game, when it comes to receivers. You know, you get to run and start and all these different little things to your advantage as well. So, but you know, I also learned a lot about separation, creative separation, just little bitty details that I still use in my game today. But, yeah, man, it was definitely a time that I did enjoy. I did grow, and, it just all worked out. You know, after I got cut, released, it just all worked out in my favor afterwards, when I ended up with Cleveland.
Right, and before we get to Cleveland, that brings us to the Spring League, where you continue to hone in on your receiver skills. You know, we mentioned before that there's been some other UMHB alums that have found the Spring League, but how did you find out about the Spring League and ultimately get accepted to play at the Showcase in San Diego?
Yeah, so the Spring League, you know, obviously when that was the year, I believe, I was set to go. It's so crazy. I was set to go to the Spring League in Austin, when Johnny was in it, and I actually couldn't go to that because that's whenever I had signed with Calgary. So I knew of the Spring League beforehand, and then after Calgary came back, and then I, you know, saw that they were having the San Diego Showcase, and I was like, yeah, I definitely got to hit that up. Me and Nick Truesdale, we actually were together up in Calgary, and so me and him were talking back and forth about that, and we ended up attending the San Diego one, Showcase together. And man, that was great experience as well. Just the competition that they had out there, at all positions, you know, just the guys that are out there that are hungry and, you know, just waiting on their opportunity and all that kind of stuff. And the coaches, the people that they had out there coaching and teaching, all that kind of stuff, are guys that definitely know exactly what they're talking about. They have the experience, that have that NFL, CFL background, really know what they're doing. That was one thing that really, that I was really, really, really happy with, after leaving, the Spring League in San Diego.
So like you said, you were signed by the Browns just a month after the San Diego Showcase. How much of that signing do you attribute to your time with the Spring League, and what was the timeline like after you left San Diego?
So after San Diego, I think it was, I know I had a workout, I say about 2 to 3 weeks after the Spring League. Had a tryout with the Browns, and you know, that all went well. I used my film that I had retained from the Spring League in San Diego as really that was the biggest thing. I didn't have film at receiver, so the Spring League really helped me with gaining that film and being able to send it out to scouts and say, here, this is what I can do. And you know, the Browns had got a hold of it. They called me for a workout literally the next day, and I got that workout in, and the rest was history.
You're just one season into your NFL career, but it seems like you've experienced so much of what life is like as a professional football player. I mean, so you were in camp, then you were cut, then you were re-signed to the practice squad a couple of months later, all before making your active roster debut in Week 17 last season for the Browns. So throw all that into the fact that the Browns were on Hard Knocks last season. There was a coaching change between when you were there the first time and your return, and now obviously the team is the talk of the NFL. So let's try to tackle all that bit by bit. On a personal level, take us through the first time you hear from Cleveland and head to training camp, and then preseason with them and the whole HBO crew.
Yeah, so, you know, first time I heard from Cleveland, it was actually crazy. It was like the day after I figured out that I was going to be having a baby, that we were pregnant, that I literally got the call from Cleveland saying, hey, we want to bring you in for camp and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it was just a true blessing. It was very just eye-opening, and just like, it was probably one of the most craziest times of my life that I've ever experienced. And so, you know, we got up to camp. I got there, I think, the second day of camp, and pretty much just got thrown in there. And that's just how it is. You go in there and it's a job interview, and you got to be ready for it at all times. So you got to camp. All the Hard Knocks cameras are there. All those people are there. And training camp in Cleveland is crazy. Fan base there is amazing. When it's camp time, it's literally like I believe the first training camp practice I was there, that was probably the most people I've been in front of, like on a football field, including UMHB and the championship game and all that kind of stuff. It was packed. And so we go out there. Nerves have never been really a factor for me, so I wasn't nervous or anything. I was just ready to get to practice and get to work. So we got out there and got to practice, and my first practice, it went really well. I was making really good catches, all that kind of stuff. Just implementing myself onto the field and into the minds of the fans and to the organization as well. And with Hard Knocks and all that stuff, it's kind of like the first week when you're there, you recognize all the cameras and all that, but after that first week, it's like they're not even there. You don't even pay attention to it. It's just like they're just other people just in the building. So that experience was pretty crazy.
I know I was watching Hard Knocks, just kind of waiting for Blake Jackson cameos. So I remember, you had the Jarvis Landry speech that went viral. You were in the room for that.
Yeah.
You were, I believe you were on camera chasing a pigeon out of the stadium in the end zone once. And then in week 4 of the preseason, you caught a touchdown, which is a very cool picture. But, what was your family and friends like in reaction to your appearances on national TV?
It was crazy, man. Even before those 3 main camera times on that show, even my mom was probably the craziest one, of course, but she would send me literally it'd be the back of my head and half of my shoulder where you could see half of my name, and she would send me a picture. Oh my God, he's on Hard Knocks. I see you. Da 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 da. I'm just man, chill out. But she would post it all on Facebook. It's a proud mom moment, so I can't do anything to stop that. But that was probably the funniest thing. But whenever I started getting more camera time and all that, definitely college teammates, friends, coaches, everybody that I've known for my entire life, all that kind of stuff, just was reaching out and just saying, hey bro, it's so cool to see you, living out your dream, and just keep working, all that kind of stuff. So it was a pretty good experience with all that, and definitely a crazy time when it came to the Jarvis Landry speech and my touchdown. When I scored my touchdown, there was so many people that were hitting me up and congratulating me and saying good job and all that kind of stuff.
So I don't know if HBO's ever picked the same team 2 years in a row, but I think the Browns might be a good one to cover again this season.
Yeah, I think it would be amazing if we got it again, because just with adding O to our team and just the other guys that we also have added, and then with Kitchens as our coach, Freddie as our new head coach, it's going to be even more just not even just entertaining, but just more just for some fun to watch, more of a brotherhood, I would say.
Now, we'll get to Odell in a second, but much like Calgary, you're part of the last round of cuts last season after the preseason in Cleveland. But then you're brought back. So at what point did you think or that you were going to make the active roster to close the season?
So it's so crazy. So during, when I was on the practice roster and stuff, one thing that you have to do on the practice squad is you have to come to work every day ready to work. You got to treat every practice, you got to treat every workout, every meeting, everything the same as if you're on the active roster. But you got to treat your practice like it's your game day. And that was one thing that I made sure I did every single day in and day out, was to come to work ready. And, I was actually supposed to be active. They were trying to get me active with four or five games left in the season. And I was so hyped with that. They would meet with me almost every week saying, hey, we're trying to get you active. We're trying to get you on the field. And, it was just something that they were just be patient with us, be patient with us, be patient with us. So, we had some injuries at linebacker. We had some injuries at O-line. And, like I said, I've never been the type of selfish player to sit there and say, I need to be the guy that needs to be on the field. Screw y'all. Y'all need to get me on the field, all that kind of stuff. So, I've never been that type of person. So, I just understood the situation, understood that I needed to stay patient And I did, and I just, controlled what I can control, and eventually it paid out towards the end of the season. And then, as well, going into this off season, just what they have, the expectations that they have on me for next year are very high. And, I can't wait to get on the field this next year and get ready for, this run that we're about to have.
So I'm a lifelong Giants fan, so this next question is going to be a little tough for me. I'm going to try to get through it. The Browns are crushing this offseason.
Yes, Dorsey.
What goes through your mind when you find out that you're now colleagues with Odell Beckham Jr.?
Man, it's awesome being able just to, eventually, when I went to the Browns, first time, having Jarvis as a mentor, because he's probably me and him played the same position. We're in the slot, so I learned everything from him, and he's a great mentor. He's a great teacher. He just I used to watch his film before I even knew about me going to Cleveland or anything. So it was just crazy how that all worked out. And then being able to have Odell in the room as well, man, that's going to be that's going to be wild. Being able to have somebody with that experience, with that athleticism, with everything he's accomplished as well. As a receiver, being able to, nitpick his brain is going to be pretty cool. So, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Being able to, witness, some of the things that he does and be a part of all that is going to be a really cool experience.
I've actually been able to interview Odell for a past job of mine, so definitely say hi to him. And I've got to say, there's no one in sports with a different perception between the rap he gets from the media and what he's actually like in person. So very excited for you to work with him. He's an amazing guy, and as you can see from the reaction from all his teammates and all the players, everyone loves him, and it's the media that that gives him a bad rap.
I already know about all that. We've talked about that before, and that's crazy. I mean, that's just how it is in the sports world. Sometimes people get flipped to seem like the bad guy. And it's unfortunate, but, it goes back to you can only control what you can control. And that's just how it is. You got to keep it moving.
Last question. You're in the offseason now as an NFL receiver. You're no longer a rookie. What do the down months, the offseason, look like? And what's your outlook for the 2019 NFL season?
Man, going into this offseason I was very excited. I was excited to get to work. I mean, some guys, they take off a month or a couple weeks of training and they let their bodies heal and all that kind of stuff. But, I got to work right away. That's what got me to this point, and where I am right now in my career is work. And so that's what I've been doing, ever since, I got back to Houston, where I train at. But I just been, working on receiver, working my craft, working on, just getting stronger, faster, all that kind of stuff. And also one thing I've been doing that I didn't do last off season was, I have been in the film room more, watching my own film, and also, doing, other things to take care of your body, as well as rehab and, therapy type stuff and all that kind of stuff. Because it's, your body is your moneymaker. Your body is what gets you on the field. Your body is what is gonna allow you to play, all the way to the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I've been also doing, and I have more of a perspective and more of an idea of what an NFL athlete is supposed to look like. So that's something that I've also been working on as well. And this next season, it's very exciting, man. I'm ready to get back to work. I actually go back to Cleveland March 30th. For workouts and all that kind of stuff. So I can't wait to get back out there and get back, around the organization, around the team and all that kind of stuff, and get to work. And, this next season is going to be great. Being able to play along, Odell and Jarvis and Baker and all those guys, and just all the weapons that we're going to have on our offensive side of the field. And, one big thing that I can't wait to do is help out in the special teams as well with the return game. That's one big thing that they want me to, get doing. And that's what I've been working on in this all season, is my return and punt return, kick return, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited for that as well.
So you mentioned the Super Bowl. The Browns, obviously, after the last week or two they had, have shot up in terms of the odds, top 5 Super Bowl odds now. So we hope you make it there. We hope you're on the active roster all the way through there. And what a big year for you.
Yeah, man.
It couldn't be happier for you.
Yes, appreciate you. Yeah, it's definitely blessings coming this way, and there's more blessings coming this way for my family in the future as well.
All right, Blake, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for the second episode of Season 2. Thank you to Blake for taking time out of his off-season training schedule to talk to me, and again, congrats to Blake on the newborn son. Best of luck to you preparing for Year 2 in the NFL. As a reminder, tickets for both game days of the Spring League 2019 in Austin are on sale now at thespringleague.com. Game days are on April 6th and April 11th. All games will take place at the Kelly Reeves Athletic Complex in Round Rock. You can follow the Spring League on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Spring League. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Alex Goldstick. All music was provided to the Spring Forward podcast by Joshua Rosner. We'll be back next week live from the Spring League in Austin. Later.